Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined by my islander, Ryan.
Shadows and dust. Shadows and dust.
Oh.
Shadows and dust.
See, I
From
wrote an
Gladiator.
ad. I wrote an ad in the newspaper, and then Ryan just showed up, so here he is.
Yes.
He was
I
the only
did.
one. He was the only one that
Yes.
responded to my ad.
I'm a very sad individual.
Woman 20 plus requires man 20 plus to record podcast with, to talk about wieners in film.
This is how the podcast came to be. I only read so much, and all I read was like wieners and film and a podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that.
He didn't realize that all I really wanted was for him to come over and have sex all the time.
Yeah.
It was just not written, but it was unwritten.
It's tiresome. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, my foot's never been the same.
Just like it is in the 1986 biographical drama Castaway, directed by Nicholas Roeg, our second Roeg, starring Oliver Reed and Amanda Donohoe, and wow. Apparently this isn't an easy film to get a hold of, but
It's
not really. If
incredibly-
you know where to look, you can find
Incredibly
it.
rare.
Man, this film is something else. So let me just drop the synopsis that I pulled from Letterboxd, which
Yeah.
is really something, just like the film. Middle-aged Gerald Kingsland advertises in a London paper for a female companion to spend a year with him on a desert island. The young Lucy Irvine takes a chance on contacting him, and after a couple of meetings, they decide to go ahead. Once on the island, things prove a lot less idyllic than in the movies, and gradually it becomes clear that it is Lucy who has the desire and the strength to try and see the year through.
Jesus.
And the tagline of this film is 1 year on a deserted tropical island. Wife, 20 to 30, needed to accompany man, 35 plus, right to box 775 with details and evening phone number.
Is that's the tagline?
That's the tagline, but which
Oh,
is the
Jesus.
ad that was written in the paper
I mean,
based
that's
on
okay.
a true story, which I will get into. And we don't really need to get into the director, because if you wanted to know anything that Ryan had to say about Nicholas Roeg, you would go back to our
The Man Who Fell to Earth
Man Who Fell
episode.
to Earth.
Yes, I was going to say that. I covered him so well.
So
that
good.
Really, I shouldn't have to do it again.
I'm going to need you to do it again. From memory.
It's probably in the same notebook, but yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
We're not doing that.
No. Go back and listen to another one of our podcasts. If you're an
Yeah.
actual fan, you should have known that already. So, yeah.
It's funny. I was blown away at first to learn that this is a Canon film. I love Canon.
I'm wearing a Canon t-shirt right now.
You're literally wearing the shirt right now.
Yeah. Well, I had to change it from like an old work shirt because we left the house today. The cardinal sin. And we left the house today, and I had to not wear an old work shirt. Certainly not to another grocery store. Would have got myself in trouble. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I made you do chores today.
We painted the fucking door today.
It was great. I had such a good time.
What else did we do? We put a draft excluder on the door as well.
Okay, this is not very interesting. Okay, so the screenwriter of this film, who is Scottish, do you know him, Ryan? His name's Alan Scott.
Oh, yeah, no, I used to hang out with him in school.
Absolutely. He wrote
Yeah.
the film. He also wrote Don't Look Now and The Witches for Nicholas Roeg.
Oh, okay.
So this film was adapted from Lucy Irvine's book, Castaway. Wow. Based on her experience on the island of Tuin.
I thought it was Turin.
It's not Turin. It's not Italy.
Well, I know that. but,
Tuin.
like,
Tuin.
Well, it was,
Tuin.
yeah, well, the way that Oliver says it, it sounds like Turin.
Tuin.
So, Tuin.
Which is between New Guinea and Australia. And Kingsland at the time was 49, and Irvine was 24 years old. So, little bit of an age gap there. And the film didn't come out very much longer after the book was published. It was quite popular. Nicholas Roeg got a hold of the book and took Lucy Irvine out to lunch and explained that the island was the perfect, quote, vehicle for something he'd been wanting to make a film about for years.
Okay.
Which is essentially the relationship between an older man and a younger woman. And it was never intended to be exactly like her book.
Okay.
And she said, I understood this, so was kind of able to watch the film without feeling too personally involved. It is an unusual film, and I reckon Amanda Donohoe played a difficult part quite well. And Oliver Reed was great too, although I wouldn't say it was his best film.
Oof.
Ouch.
All right.
Scathing. And Kate Bush, who I don't know if you knew, sings the opening song of the film.
Yeah, because it's what's the song called? But it's basically a line. It's a line from the movie as well. So it's like it's like not a titular line, but it's a line that Oliver Reed says, where it's like, "Don't judge me on my mistakes or something." Be
kind to my mistakes.
There you go. Be kind to my mistakes. Yeah. So it's fine.
It's a great song. I love Kate Bush.
Yeah, I'm not a Kate Bush fan.
I've grown to love the Bush over the years. Big fan.
Yeah. I'm not going to say
okay,
anything.
She was,
because it just doesn't make me look
it was a joke. Yeah. Kate Bush was initially actually asked to star in the film, but then she ended up just given the song.
Yeah. I stick to what you know, Kate Bush. I think you're fine.
She did what she knew. And Amanda Donohoe is really someone that you've seen a lot, but like she's super familiar in this movie.
Yeah.
But she became kind of slightly famous when she was 16 years old because she was dating Adam Ant.
Okay.
Who was 8 years older than her, not as big of an age gap as is in this film. And this film was her feature film debut, but she had another film that came out the same year called Foreign Body.
Okay, yeah.
And she was in 2 Ken Russell films after this. She was in The Lair of the White Worm and The Rainbow, both of which I love, but we probably won't talk about on the podcast because
she's in Starship Troopers 3.
Wow.
Holy shit. Yeah, I'm like typing into my phone at the same time because I'm trying to find shit for us to talk about. Because she's in Liar, Am I boring as well. You?
Yeah, she is in Liar, Liar. I think she's the boss.
Okay. She is the boss, yeah. She's in a tie. I remember more from TV. She's in Holby
LA
City, if
Law
I remember.
And stuff.
She's in LA Law.
I think so.
I remember more from like Holby City, like British TV, the good TV. I remember more from like TV stuff.
Okay. She won a Golden Globe for being in LA Law. So.
Shit.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say she won a Golden Globe for Holby City, and I'd be like, I don't think so. That show wasn't that good. But, yeah.
Okay. So, this film had me riled up more than once.
Yeah, you got yourself a little bit more heated and emotional than usual, I guess, is what we would probably kind of say.
Okay. I love Oliver Reed. Love. And I think it is strictly due to him being an incredible actor that got me so riled up because he did so many gross things and yet was weirdly respectful at the same time, at least in the boundaries of the film that we're watching, right?
I think it's more that I don't know if he's being respectful, though.
He's being respectful of her boundaries.
I mean, I guess.
Sexually.
Oh, right. I mean, here's the thing, like, maybe they were fucking most of the time, but I mean, it got to a certain point in the film where obviously, he's a very sexually charged, individual.
Right.
And it just kind of gets to a point when, yeah, I mean, if you're that hungry, I don't know how hungry I would be for for the sex.
Especially considering the circumstances.
Oof, yeah,
So
it's rough.
I find it odd. So this man writes into a newspaper he wants a, quote, wife to go on a deserted island with him for a year, right?
Yeah.
Nothing is talked about with sex. In the film, they both have sex before going to this island and getting married, quote, married.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to happen on the first date.
Which is fine because if you're, you you got to figure out whether
Yeah.
it's worth it. But I don't know if that's what she imagined his intentions to be necessarily. Their intentions are so different.
He kind of puts it up on Front Street, though, at the very beginning, where he's like, I've not interviewed many people, but I didn't expect the person that I interviewed to give me, feelings in my, my trouser package, is
Jesus
basically
Christ.
what he referred to. Which I think is like, it's very brazen of him. Because it can go one of two ways. She can get all sex strong and be like, fuck yeah, and they all start fucking immediately. Or it just kind of puts you off because it's kind of like, well, you're just a pervy old man.
Right.
So it's a weird, like, it's a really weird, the thing is like, because truth is always stranger than fiction. Like, if it was a piece of fiction and you didn't have any understanding of whether or not this was a true story, you would probably think that's not very believable.
Right.
Because, yeah, but the fact is that it is, because it happened. This is the way, I mean, I'm guessing, but I'm assuming this is the way it happened.
Well, he took a lot of liberties. I have the book in my cart to get delivered because I really want to read it.
Okay.
Lucy Irvine's book. But, he did take a lot of liberties, Nicholas Roeg, but yeah, I'm sure that it ended up in a similar type of way.
I do think the first 20 minutes of the film, like that first part just before they get to the island, is running at breakneck speed.
It absolutely is, because I want to know.
It cannot slow down. It's like, we need to get to the island immediately, otherwise this film is 3.5 hours long.
I just want to know his reasoning because I feel like it's really vague. You see things on the TV where, in the background where you're supposed to understand, yes, the world is crazy. Horrible things are happening. We have to get out and just live off the land and just be human beings again, right? Which, yeah, of course, that sounds great, especially with the nonsense that we're all dealing with today. Like, yeah, let's just go live on a deserted island and just forget the world's troubles, right? But I feel like he doesn't say that enough. And she doesn't really explain too much why she wants to go. It's just like, oh, I'm young. Let's just go on an adventure, right? And he's more like, I want to go to an island and take my clothes off and drink a carton of Bacardi rum and have sex with a 20-year-old.
Yeah. So I think, like, from my understanding of the, from the film, from just watching it, and I've seen the film before, but I saw it years and years and years ago on TV. He is a consummate, like, fantasist, because he has an interest in magic, illusion, sleight of hand. I do think that he is very much deluding himself as to the grandeur of his true self and like what he's able to do and what he's able to perform in life. Like, I do think he has a very much misplaced sense of how he is and who he is as a person.
I think that's very well said.
And I think it's kind of like he's gotten this notion into his mind. Because, like, that's the thing, like, you could look at this period as, like, of this man. Because, like, we get to see some of his home life. And, he's there and there's a couple of kids. The wife is nowhere to be seen. I'm assuming she's just no longer in the picture anymore. Or the mother's no longer in the picture anymore. But, you're putting a juxtaposition, because this is Nicholas Roeg, so it's a juxtaposition of like life within the city, and it's centered in London, to then what that life then becomes when they go to the island
Right.
in the Seychelles. And you're kind of just like, it happens so quickly that I think it's a very smart ploy from the filmmakers to basically take away any chance for them to really think about this situation logically because of how quickly things do happen. But that's an overarching idea. But I think with the case of like Oliver Reed's character, Jerry, is that he is effectively deluding himself, and he is in denial, and he has a greater sense of himself than I think he does. He just doesn't think this through well enough. And this is kind of like a moment in his life where he's like, well, if I don't do that, like this is crazy, and I'm gonna do this because I'm crazy. And it just kind of comes across where, he sends himself up to the brink of madness, trying to make sure that this becomes a reality.
It's incredibly endearing, the whole idea of it, because I don't know, at least when I was watching it, I go, that's very cool. I am completely uninterested in doing that sort of thing because I enjoy my creature comforts. But just the fact that these two people were able to go out there and survive.
I think it's a throwaway thing. I think people in Western society, they come to a moment where they're just like, I need to run away. I need to do something wild because, the hustle and bustle, like the way that we've been brought up. And this is different in different cultures, obviously. But I feel like within the Western world, there's such a regimen that people start to clash against it eventually. And this is kind of what I feel. But it's very throwaway. Like, people say that all the time where they're just like, well, I'm going to go do something wild. I'm going to go live in a desert island. It's like, I'm going to take my gap year. All this shit.
But the fact that they actually did it, but knowing that if they didn't get help from the outside, they would have died.
Yes.
For sure.
It's
especially
hard.
Gerald.
Yeah, it's hard.
Particularly Gerald. I think that she might have been okay, potentially. She might have survived. I don't know if she would have been okay.
She seemed to fare better. I mean, we're watching the film knowing, we live in Florida. Like, we watch the film knowing that, like, you would keep yourself covered up the majority of the time. Like, you're not on holiday. Like, you're on... Yeah, because there's no level of, like... There's no control on this island. It's an unpopulated space. It's also quite a small island. And they don't own the island. So I'm like wondering about, obviously, the legalities and things like that. Whereas, like, it's like, we're given permission to be on this island for a year. So they're kind of like... they've signed off on a lease to stay on this island for this year. And it's kind of like...
Well, that was the other thing, is that was one of the hiccups before they got to the island.
Yeah.
Is the fact that the Australian government wanted them to be married in order to let them stay on the island, which she obviously was quite annoyed at because that wasn't the goal. Like, that wasn't anything that she had in mind. She didn't want to marry this man. She didn't want to be with this man. Well, she just wanted to go on an adventure.
Well, wife was in speech marks in the advert, so it's false advertising. Yeah, false advertising. But yeah, it's such a thing. It's an incredibly brave thing to do. I mean, it's idiotic, and a lot of misled bravery just ends up being classed as idiocy. But it's kind of just like, what they're doing is incredibly brave, and I do think that she is prepared far more. I mean, I was doing my review, actively doing the review, and putting my rating in for the film as we were actively recording. But I mean, one of the posters is just of her, like, her backside, and you can see her bum and stuff in like a G-string, and then the holster over her shoulder with the knife in it and stuff. So you can tell from, like, at least from the marketing, like this is what they're trying to go for, where it's kind of like she's a strong, independent woman, she's a survivalist, she's put in this, where it's not really necessarily about that. I feel like survival is just of a, yeah, like instinctually you would be like, oh no, I'm hungry, I need to fucking do something about it.
I don't know. I do think that it is about her. Like the film is about her. It's
The story
not about
is her story.
Yeah, it's not about Oliver Reed.
No.
If she wasn't there, he would have died. I think he's completely separate. He has nothing to do with it. I mean, well, he has a little bit to do with it because she had to do things with him in order to like keep status quo.
Well, they wouldn't. They wouldn't be there unless, you know, she had also replied to that ad.
I think the first time he does magic, I don't remember. It's before they got to the island or after.
Very much before.
It's before, and she sees him do magic. Does she see him do magic?
Yes.
That's unfortunate. That's a red flag for me. I would say absolutely not. That man does a magic trick, and you know that motherfucker's going to be doing it the whole year.
He did it to He did it to the flatmate. He did it to Lara. Yeah,
that's upsetting.
He just pulled a handkerchief out of nowhere.
As the housemate, I would have gone, pal, you're in for a really rough ride. Do not go with this old man to this island because he's going to be pulling quarters out of your ear the whole time and you can't even spend the money.
Yeah. And
that's going to be horrible.
And it's
also he recites filthy limericks all the time.
Yeah.
Who wants to deal with a man who's twice your age, reciting filthy limericks, doing magic tricks, and also trying to have sex with you and guilting you about not having sex with him?
I don't know. That one limerick where he's
every
like
day
flicking bits of paper out of vagina is pretty funny.
But he also didn't even tell her that limerick. He was alone. He did that limerick alone.
That's what the movie would have been if she wasn't there. Is just him.
I mean, this also could have been the whole, if this wasn't a true story. That sounds like a Nicholas Roeg movie to me, where he thinks he's with a hot woman trying to have sex, but he's actually by himself.
Yeah, I prefer the idea of Oliver Reed with a bunch of alcohol on a desert island doing filthy limericks and doing magic tricks just to amuse himself. And then he makes friends with a ball.
No.
Yeah, we've never seen that before.
But I think we've alluded to the fact that from the start, his creep factor is at a 10 or at 100, depending on the dial that you have, because he makes it clear from the start, from the beginning, from the entire time that he wants one thing, and it's her on her back with her hands behind her head, submissive, ready to receive.
He's a good time happy dad.
Jesus Christ.
That's what he does.
No.
He is. He's a good time happy dad. He does magic. He hangs. He runs that kids group at the swimming pool.
He has open wounds on his body.
He's like, splash, splash, splash. Everyone's gonna splash in the pool.
Gross. He has open wounds on his legs, on his body, and he still is insistent on having sex with this woman. But I'm like, ew, what does your wiener look like? It's probably covered in sores. Ugh, I'm so grossed out. It's so uncool.
Well, he did, we don't really see too much of his wiener to make any sort of logical readout from that. But you do see the state of his legs, and they're covered in sores and bites and stuff, because they refuse to wear baggy, flowy clothing.
That's the thing where Lucy is nude throughout the entire film.
It's also sun protection as well, because they can't have sunscreen there. Obviously, there's no way.
I cannot believe that they would have brought a year's supply of sunscreen. And she's nude throughout the film, but his bits are strategically covered by palm fronds and zippers throughout the entirety of the film until near the very, very end. And it's super strange.
And I don't know if it was Amanda's choice for this or not, but it's like she's in the nutty for like 90% of the film. and like totally nude.
I think that well, never mind. I don't know. Maybe that's not nice to say. But I was thinking if I was going to be nude in a film, yeah, I would do it when I was 24. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not when I'm 49.
No, things are droopy when you're 49.
Well, you know,
But
everyone is beautiful at all ages. I want to say it. A human body is beautiful.
well, that's even men as well. I don't want to show my naked body to anybody. Really,
I'm not trying to body shame. I'm just saying, as a personal
choice.
I
I look like a marshmallow that you dropped in a puddle, and it's gotten slightly gotten wet, and it's also gotten slightly bulbous from the dirty water.
That's the other thing that you brought up, is the fact that because we are living in Florida, we also understand that when you're outside, whether it be in your backyard or in the wilderness, you are covered up, because Florida is mini Australia. You know, so you have bugs, you have poisonous plants, and you have venomous creatures, and everything's trying to get you.
Tuin is just off of Australia, so know for a fact there's bad spiders and there's bad snakes probably on that island.
Absolutely,
because there's wildlife on the island. You get to see a fair amount of it. You know, there's birds and rodents and stuff.
She is running around. There. She's running around without shoes.
Yeah.
And fully nude is horrifying to me, because also I am an archaeologist, right? So I go out in the field, and you don't wear like a tank top. You don't wear shorts.
No.
You wear heavy duty boots, and you wear trousers and long sleeves, and you even have head coverings because you're out in the sun or you're out in the woods and there's Anyway, I'm reiterating the whole thing.
Yeah.
You don't run around naked. You're going to be covered in bites and sores, and you're going to get sick.
Yeah.
Which is what happens. To be fair, it is what happens. Mm-hmm. They're all covered in sores and bites and open wounds.
Yeah.
And they're starving. Little less sunburned than you would have expected.
Yeah, it was kind of weird that they weren't that sunburned, but then maybe they were just being sensible and they were getting into the shade when it was at the hottest parts of the day, but I'm not too sure. But the thing is like, I don't know, maybe Gerald thought like he had he had the magic touch. He could just wave his sores away with his hand and it would be fine.
He was always touching it and then also trying to have sex with her at the same time and touching his wounds.
It was pretty so funny
gross.
Where she's having like a sexy dream. And he's just like slowly putting his finger into one of the open wounds on his foot. And she's just like, oh my God. And he's just sticking his finger into his wound.
Disgusting.
And she's like, are you okay? And I'd be like, I don't think, like, if he's up and awake, it's just like, oh, they're keeping you awake. He's like, yes, they're incredibly painful. Of course they look fucking painful. They look fucking horrific. And he's all waterlogged as well. His feet are all swollen up. Let's get down to business. It looks like
Jerry.
a literal nightmare. It looks like a literal fucking nightmare.
And one thing that we both agreed on was how cool it was, how they showed the body dysmorphia in this film.
It's the most interesting part of the film, and it's the most Nicholas Roeg part of the film.
I loved it because you have the actors, right? And you go, oh, it's one of those things if you made it nowadays, right? That the actors, like if you had Christian Bale playing Jerry, right? He would get emaciated. He'd be huge and then he'd get emaciated, right?
Yes,
but they don't do that where you have the actors and they are as they are. And then when they kind of look in the mirror or when they're seen from a different kind of perspective, right? You can see their emaciated bodies and their ribs and their skin is sagging and they just look horrible and they look just desperate.
Yeah. So the way the editing works is that for the majority of the film, we are seeing it from their perspective. So they are imagining to themselves that they are healthy when it's obvious that they're not. So they are basically seeing themselves as healthy from the day that they got there, so their view on themselves is completely warped, but really they're just in denial of like how dire their situation is. So you will see flashes of their emaciated bodies that are obviously played by stand-ins. And then you'll cut back to the actual actors and stuff like that and the way that they look normally. So I don't know. I mean, I guess like it's an interesting idea, and like in practicality, is that what they're going for? I can only assume that's what it is, because maybe, I don't know, they were just like, well, no, we're not going to actually physically starve ourselves, because it's obvious that they're cutting to people who are, they're very, very skinny, like very skinny. Like the skin is hanging off of them, like skinny. So,
I mean, you maybe could just suck in your tummy like really hard.
You could, but even if you do that, the skin is not rippling as if it's like, it's like removing itself from the fatty layer of your muscle, basically, because it's just been eaten away by starvation. So,
yeah, it's rough.
But what we all know is that because when we all get hungry, we all get a little bit grumpy.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen the Snickers commercials.
And that's kind of what happens on the island, is they get super grumpy with each other.
Just like a regular married couple.
Like, very grumpy. Yeah, I don't know. We don't really argue that much. Only shouted at you twice today.
I mean, that's an improvement. So wait, what you're talking about? I feel like you're leading into something. You're leading into the fact that they get really grumpy.
Well, they get really grumpy, and you can tell because they're getting very like aggressive with each other, and they're shouting and stuff. Because you brought it up as well. You were like, "Well, she's not gonna stand there and just take all of his shit either."
There was several times, and I don't know, maybe I just do this all the time. Anytime I see a woman in a film, I'll pop my feet in their shoes, and I just think to myself, if I'm on an island, I want to take my clothes off. I just want to have a good time, but then you also have to survive. But then you are there with a man who you don't really know, and do they even really get to know each other at all, to be fair, throughout this entire ordeal?
She's asking him questions, though.
Is he answering them properly?
No, I don't think he is. But I think it's kind of like he's also fully aware of the fact that she's also writing and she's doing a project. And it's kind of like, I would probably be in the same boat where I'd be like, well, no, I'm not going to just give you the information, because that's not how this is going to work. Yeah,
I mean, it is clear that she is writing a story throughout this. And I was reading, and I tried to find the website or the news article that I was reading again, where it was written that his intent on this whole trip was also to write about his experience. But then she excelled in it rather than him. So he was a little bit butthurt about it.
I do feel like maybe, like she's a little bit more proactive about it. But
absolutely.
He's dealing with all sorts of fucking ailments. You know what I mean? And it's,
It just, because Oliver Reed is so intense and magnetic, and he really just eats it up all the time.
You're just watching a man eat an island like the entire time.
Yeah, he's just eating it up. And the fact that she, as her character, is not worried. She's not afraid.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And I know that he's covered in sores and his feet are all swollen and disgusting. And if she ran, he couldn't catch her.
Of course.
But he's a big guy. I don't know. I get afraid. Men are scary. Just the fact that they're alone out there and they're relying on each other. And he's getting aggressive and getting scary and always talking about having sex with her. And that's the last thing on her mind. She's trying to survive and keep healthy. The fact that later in the film, the only way that they are surviving is because of the help of other people.
Yeah.
She completely stops having her period because she's so malnourished. But he still keeps talking about wanting to have sex.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's just trying to live.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, it makes sense. It's kind of just like, But that's the thing, like, it's it was his dream, it was his vision, and he doesn't want to accept that it's closing down. He was like, we're gonna survive on this island, we're gonna do this. And it's the exact same moment that happens later in the film when they become too self-sufficient. Because they have to bring resources in from the outside world, basically.
Which pisses her off because that was not the original intent of the journey.
No.
It was to survive based on your own wiles and growing your own food.
But they already failed at that, though.
Yeah,
like, that's the thing. They failed catastrophically.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, you know, having this repeat argument about the same thing is just like, you know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like, that's kind of just how that is. And it's kind of like, you know, you kind of feel like how deliberate this entire experience was, because if you were to go there, because it's like, it feels even from the first day, there is an element of help there. And they're putting themselves into a very dangerous situation, and then they just kind of have to be helped again. I mean, at that point, I'd be like, the project's over.
Absolutely.
Like, we know this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Christ, the minute a missionary, a fucking nun, like, she comes to the island, the minute I'm saved by a person of God, I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like, that's it. This was a complete and utter waste of my time. I was like, thank you for tending to my wounds. I'm ready to go home now.
I mean, it was kind of funny when the nun was like, aren't you worried about her getting pregnant out here on this island? He's like, whoa. Well. You know, because he hadn't slept with her.
Yeah.
Because she won't let him.
And also, her whole entire reproductive system is slowly rotting away from malnutrition. So
absolutely,
it's incredibly unlikely that that's what's going to happen.
She's like, you don't need to worry about it. Do anything you want.
No.
She can't do anything.
But here's the thing is, like, you know, they give them a boat, like, he gets a job, he's, like, going out for work, he's, like, fixing stuff, and she's kind of left being the you know, the woman on the island tending to, like, the house, technically.
I think she liked it. She liked it, though.
Well, it's kind of like, again, it's like, well, what are you wanting? Like, you don't like it the way it is. You didn't like it the way it was. You know, it's like the further insertion of any level of, like, societal values, like the little things that we take for granted, like a roof over your head and, you know, like a job and, like, things that kind of, like, the thing, all they did was they relocated to somewhere else to have the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, for her she gets angry about it. And I think it's just, it wasn't the adventure that it was. It's like, yeah, it's like putting yourself into that scenario. I just think it's
he brings her a frozen ham or something, right?
Yeah, he does.
And she gets annoyed because, like, we're not surviving anymore.
Yeah,
like,
she didn't kill the pig herself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, honey, you haven't been doing that for a while. You literally have cans of beer.
Yeah.
You have cans of vegetables.
Yeah.
You have your radio. You have fans. You have a generator with a light bulb.
Yeah.
You're not doing it anymore. It's over.
No. Well, it's because they couldn't do it the other way before either.
No, because they weren't prepared, because they were dumb.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You just go out there with bottles of Bacardi and think that you're going to grow. What did they think? They were just going to grow vegetables?
In the sand.
And, I mean, you can grow stuff in the sand, but, like, oh my God. The fact that they thought that they were going to have food, like, right away. Like, oh, we're going to plant this. Like, that takes so long.
Yeah.
It takes so long. He's never grown anything in his life.
No. He can fish, though. They could definitely fish. He was able to fish. But I think, like, you know, I think the film, like, the story, yeah, it's just, you know, but by the time, because, you know, obviously the journey is going to come to an end. And effectively, like, you know, if God is there, in inverted commas, you know, the heavens literally open and they bombard the island with like a typhoon or a hurricane.
Yeah. They finally made the structure that she'd been asking for months and months and months.
Yeah.
And they had a so-called house on the beach.
They did.
And yeah, a storm comes through. And
yeah.
So, yeah, I think we're coming up to it. And this is about an hour, 42 minutes, and about 50 seconds-ish, depends on...
Pretty much 10 minutes before, 10 minutes
right before the end of the movie. Film. Yeah. And this is kind of just after Lucy has made an alter ego in the film, right? She's made an alter ego called Rosie in order to satisfy Gerald's advances, because it's just constant. The need for sex, the need for intimacy.
Yeah.
He cannot deal, and it's probably incredibly annoying for her. So she's like, all right, well, the time is timey-wimey. It's been kind of hard to decipher how long they've been there.
Yep.
And she just decides to make herself different.
Yes.
She puts lipstick on. She makes her hair different in order to make this different persona, to make it so she can deal with having sex with him, because she, as Lucy, is not interested. But maybe Rosie is interested in having sex with him.
Well, she's playing out the sexual fantasy that he had as a child.
Okay. Sure.
About the going under the table and seeing the knickers and the stockings and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he honestly just wouldn't shut up about being a full-on pervert the whole movie.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And the thing is, God chose to destroy everything on that island.
So it's like at this point, Rosie, her alter ego, has unlocked his nonsense boner fantasies, right?
Much,
and so at this point, he believes that he has full access to this human being. Because before, he was pretty... he wasn't necessarily hands-off, but he understood that no means no. But now, no means nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
It is just, you are mine now, and I will do as I please. So, a typhoon encompasses the camp. Things are going wrong. Typhoon is encompassing the camp, and as soon as this begins to happen, instead of trying to salvage anything or tie down the camp,
I don't think they can do anything. I
feel like you would give it a shot, because you could hear it coming, right? So you would kind of get a feeling that there's a storm coming, right? But he's like trying to turn on the generator, to what effect, unsure. But they are both naked. She's usually naked anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, but he's naked, which is kind of odd.
He's fully naked, which he hasn't been. But I think Rosie unlocked the creepy boner that he always wanted to be. So he's like, I'll be naked now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was naked earlier in the film, but again, like I had said, palm fronds and tent zippers were covering his bits.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Super dumb. Especially in retrospect, super dumb.
Yeah.
So he's fully naked, out in the storm, screaming.
Screaming at the storm. Yeah.
And then he essentially just runs inside and grabs her.
Well, they start having sex because they think they're going to die.
Well,
you know,
it's obvious that
and
that's
then the
not
house
going
collapses.
to happen. But
what do you mean that's not going? They're not going to die.
Why would they die then?
They could have. What, during the fucking typhoon? What are you even talking about?
Nah.
Yeah, what are you talking about? That's obvious.
I mean, you're saying they had sex because it might be the end. No.
Yeah.
He forced himself upon her whilst she was saying no. No.
I don't know. I can't remember.
She was.
Right.
She was not interested.
Okay.
She kept saying no because she didn't get to turn herself into her Rosie persona. And she is just Lucy, who is uninterested in having sex with this man.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's not like, you know, when you talk about a man forcing himself upon someone, like, or someone forcing themselves upon someone else, it's not like as traumatic as things that I've seen in the past, but it's still just like, Jesus, man, just get your head out of your ass. This woman's not interested.
Yeah. No, I got it.
Leave her
I
alone.
got it. Well, the house collapses. A big tidal wave comes in and just collapses the house.
Trying to get me off my rant. Yes,
Yeah,
the house
kinda.
collapses.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like I don't remember that. That's not clear.
She was trying to push him off of her.
Okay. Well, I mean, also
Probably because she was like, I need to get to safety, and yet I have this man on top of me who's twice my size.
Yeah. Aye.
And it's wet. It was flooded.
There's a lot going on, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's a typhoon, and it's very much the way it is. There's no structural integrity whatsoever.
No.
And yes, either way, the fucking house comes down, and yeah, I mean, that's the scene's not like, in terms of, you know, how we cover things and stuff like that. The scene itself isn't. It's not great. It's cut together it's very fast. Like
wildly
the
fast.
wide shots, like it's there. It's a blink and you miss it, basically, because it could have quite easily have been like a standout shot, but it just isn't there long enough. And it just gets super cutty for whatever reason. And
it's at night as well.
and it's
which
also at
doesn't help.
night, so it's very dark, and there's rain coming down, so that's obviously obscuring a few things. But you're kind of like, what is this moment meant to signify? Like, what kind of move is this making now that this man is naked, even though we've been watching Lucy the entire time be completely naked this entire time? Like, what is this moment signifying for this male character?
I personally think that because this happened right after her unlocking this persona,
Okay.
that he's also kind of tapping into that as well. So he goes, okay, she's giving me what I've always wanted, and now I'm free to also just be a naked island man as well. I genuinely can't think of anything other than that, because he never ever walked around technically fully naked before. He was naked, but it was like when they were in bed.
Yeah.
Or you know, sleeping or laying down or relaxing or whatever. But there are dozens of shots of her swimming naked in the sea and just running around, and that doesn't happen for him. So I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing I can really think of, is that maybe it's because he finally got laid that he feels like he can be open and free with the island.
Now, I don't like that, but then I don't have anything else to kind of like back it up.
I'm not saying I like it either.
Well, I don't, yeah. Well, I mean, like, if that's like what it could potentially mean, then I'm not kind of interested. I mean, I don't really like the scene that much anyway. I'm kind of just like, okay. I was like, this is basically the world telling you this is a bad idea, and we're going to destroy everything in your wake, and we're going to remind you that you probably need to go back to London. Well, that's pretty much what that is.
This should have been happening the entire film. He should have been naked with her the entire film.
I mean, there probably would have been more typhoons and hurricanes as well, to be honest.
Yeah, if they lasted more than a year, which they did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, there's a horrible imbalance about the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh.
It's probably the worst one. It's probably the most. Yeah, it's probably
that's hard, because you do have countless films where there's female nudity throughout, and then no male nudity whatsoever.
Well, here's the thing: like,
so
the minute that they are left on the island alone, she immediately takes her clothes off, and then that's her for the rest of the film. So,
the moment they get dropped off.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Aye. So I mean, he's not that.
No.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it's
But also, hold on. But there are parts, like I was saying, there's palm fronts and there's zippers. Like it's alluded to the fact that he is naked, but that was a choice by the filmmaker to cover that up. Either it was a choice by the filmmaker, or it was dictated by Oliver Reed, or dictated by the ratings board, to where like,
well, thing is,
oh yes, we can have the female naked at all times, fully T to B, totally naked,
right?
But we could only see Oliver Reed's penis one time.
Yeah, but I don't think with Oliver Reed that would ever have been a problem with him.
I don't think he has an issue with it.
This won't be the first time we cover him anyway.
No.
You know, I don't think he has an issue with that, like, whatsoever.
No, I don't think so either. So I do think that it's either on the part of the distributor, the ratings board, or Nicholas Roeg himself that decided, I'm not showing that wiener more than once.
All right.
Because what other reason is there?
Well, there's none.
It's weird.
Yeah, there's none.
So Lucy Irvine herself had said, in terms of making the film and, you know, talking about the nudity, she said, well, naked on a desert island with Oliver Reed, it was a tabloid fantasy, wasn't it? And she said he was an alcoholic and his behavior was erratic, but he was always a courteous and good actor. His personal life wasn't working, but he never crossed any lines professionally.
Yeah.
So those were her words of...
Good boy alcoholic, Oliver Reed. But that's the thing, we never knew Oliver Reed as anything other than like what he was as a person. So I mean that was it. Like that was Oliver Reed.
There were quite a few people who said that even though this wasn't maybe his best film, that this was the most like him that there was.
Right.
As a character.
Well, what film do they cite as being his best film though?
He's been in so many good films, but he's always incredible in those films.
Yeah,
it's like a Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I guess so.
Where Nicolas Cage is always really good, but maybe his films aren't.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Thank you.
But yeah, I don't know. I think Oliver Reed really kind of pulls it out of fucking nothing. Basically, I think he's actually very interesting in this film, but.
No, he's great. They're both really good.
Yeah, they are. But the thing is, I mean, if they were terrible, then the film's just nothing, effectively. It's just not that interesting if they're not interesting, so.
Oh, man. Sorry, I was just looking up what the internet thought his best films were.
And what are they?
Well, the top one, and I don't know if this is in order or anything, but would you like to guess what you think maybe one of his top films might be?
What's that movie with the when he buys the house and he's the father in the pool? No? Isn't that Burnt Offerings?
That's definitely not one of the top films.
Oh, okay.
No. Easy. It just had a sequel come out last year.
Oh, Gladiator.
Okay.
Oh,
another
really?
one.
Do you think that's one of his best films? I mean, he really puts a mark on a performance that he basically died in the middle of doing.
Right.
So.
The Devils.
Yes.
Women in Love.
Obviously.
A film that you haven't seen yet that you bought me for Christmas.
Venom.
Absolutely.
Okay.
With Klaus Kinski.
Got you.
Anyway, those are just a few.
Okay. Well, yeah. No, he's done very well.
So many.
Yeah.
He's great.
Done well. I'm surprised he wasn't in the sequel of Gladiator. So that was my feeling on that one.
No, they're not going to do like they did in that new Alien movie.
Or like what they did to Carrie Fisher in fucking Star Wars.
Exactly. We don't
fucking
need this.
Horrible bastardization. Yeah.
I don't need this. Okay.
Yeah, just say 'em.
So in the book, Lucy Irvine described Kingsland as poor whining man with bad legs. And I was curious because they
had bad legs.
He did have bad legs and swollen feet. But they got married, and I was always curious. Not always. I'm just recently curious. I didn't wake up thinking about this.
I mean, it's
the
first thing you've been saying every morning since we.
Did they get a divorce? Okay, so she left him in June.
I wonder what Lucy Irvine's up to right now. I wonder, did she get a divorce?
I actually could tell you. Okay, so she left him in June of 1982, which was 12 months after she arrived in Tuin,
Okay.
but he refused to grant her a divorce.
Right.
Yeah. So he ended up having 7 children from 5 different marriages.
Okay.
He passed away in 2000. He
Okay.
was 70 years old.
Uh-huh.
Lucy is still alive. She has 3 children, and she founded a non-profit animal rescue called Life, which is the Lucy Irvine Foundation Europe.
Okay.
And over 200 dogs have been successfully adopted to the UK.
Huh.
So
Nice.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. She was never granted a divorce.
Yeah.
He had all these illicit marriages and
Yeah.
obviously these children and stuff like that. So basically, did she just remain married to him until he died, basically?
Probably, yeah. But it probably didn't take that long because he was so much older than her.
Yeah.
So it was like just 20 years. So she was in her 40s.
I mean, that's fucking 20 years. That's 20 years of being
I mean,
married to
that's
someone
fair.
that you've. Yeah, I mean, I guess she just. Well, I mean, would she? Well, she wouldn't be able to get married again unless he granted the divorce.
Yeah. Or he died.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, well, he's a mess. So in terms...
Well, he's also in the grave, so it doesn't really
Yes.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of visibility and context, like, man, context would be like 5 because, yeah, why wouldn't you? Well, I mean, gosh, we were just arguing that they needed to have all these clothes on, so whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the whole thing visibility and context 1.5. You don't see a lot, and it really depends on the lighting. So if the lighting on the TV is quite high, you can probably see quite a bit more. It's just really dark.
Yeah.
But honestly, we've talked about this for quite a long time during this episode, just the fact that he contextually, in comparison to her, should have been naked just as much.
Yeah.
Considering also how much he wanted to have sex with her, I think he maybe would have been naked a lot more. So I think that's really... I don't know. I just think that's not good on the part of either the filmmaker or whoever was distributing the film and the ratings board, potentially. I just don't understand why he wouldn't have been nude. But anyway, Ryan, what do you think?
I don't have a lot of thoughts on the scene itself because I just don't think it's particularly good. But
we have gone over it a lot too.
yeah, we have gone over it a fair amount. So I will just kind of say I'll give it a 1.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Because I just don't think it needs to be discussed any longer.
For the film, it's so funny. I'm gonna give it. I gave it a 4. I really liked it. I just thought it was super interesting, and I thought, man, it's also absolutely gorgeous. I don't know, the films wouldn't be made the same these days. It almost looks fake. It's just so beautiful. The underwater shots are absolutely amazing. The sunsets are beautiful. The scenery is gorgeous. I think the way that it's edited is really, really interesting. And I just think the film is very, very fun. And I would definitely watch it again. What do you think, Ryan?
I mean, what would I rate the film as? So I gave it 4 because I do think the performances are good. And when the film is good, it's really good.
Yeah.
It probably deserves closer to like a 3, though, I think. Because like the more you think about it, and the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, so it's got a couple of good central performances. The cinematography is very nice. I think they capture the island well, and I think they do a good job of capturing just the essence of what this story is all about. But it's probably just a little bit long, and I think also as well that, like, you know, just a couple of things about it that I'm not particularly keen on. Certainly that dick scene is fucking pathetic. But I say, like, just on the performances alone, yeah, let's just settle at 3.5. Like, there we go. Okay. 3.5.
Well. I think that this is something that people should watch, and I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get hold of it, because the way we saw it was that you got what you thought was a real copy of the film on eBay.
True.
And it's just a a burned DVD.
It is a
with
burned DVD with a
the file on it. They must have just torrented.
photocopied cover
Yep.
that someone made up.
A nice blurry photocopy as the DVD cover. At least they sealed it, though.
$20. $20.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could find this in other ways. If you're not sure, just
Well,
message us.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think you will. It's actually incredibly rare.
It's not that rare. It's really not.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find
I
a
found
copy of it, a legitimate copy.
Oh, to like buy physically?
Yeah.
No, you can watch it other ways digitally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not that bad.
that's fine. It's definitely on Daily Motion. That's the whole film's on there, but it was an hour and. Oh no, it can't be on Daily Motion. Must be like an edited copy.
I did see that as well,
it's only
and
an hour and
it's
20
missing.
minutes.
It's missing like 20 minutes of the film at least. Yeah,
Oh,
I did
boy.
see that as well.
Yeah,
It's probably a TV edited thing.
easily.
But, yeah, if you guys need to know, just send us a message, and also make sure to follow us on social media on Instagram and where else are we? I don't even know. We have a website on the BiTTE.com.
We're everywhere,
and on Letterboxd, which you can find from our Instagram.
We're everywhere. We're like crabs. We get in there.
We could be.
We nestle in your junk side and just we're there. Scratchy, itchy.
Coming to you from To Win. Be kind to my mistakes. I have been Laura.
Yeah, shadows and dust, guys. Shadows and dust.
We'll see you next time.